Cody.
Hey man, how are you?
How you doing?
Really good. Really,
Uh,
really good.
First of all, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a bunch of guitar shit, and I've already done an intro, but in the aughts, when your band, the Blood Brothers, sort of started playing and doing everything you did, I mean, it was all everybody talked about. It's all I heard about, and
Huh.
I think I saw you guys the first time on the Henry Rollins show, the thing he had on
Oh
IFC,
yeah, very
and I
cool.
and I loved it. I thought it was great. And then of course, Headwind City and everything started, and now you have JR Slayer, and we'll get into all that. But I guess so. I
hmm
want to start with, like, how did you start playing guitar? You also have a brother that does this, like I do. So did
Yeah,
he?
Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky, who we have so many mutual friends, and Tim McElrath, and those guys that toured together and everything.
hmm
Uh, well, did he sort of have a hand in you getting into it, or what happened there?
Yeah, so when I was, well, first of all, we grew up in Texas. So I lived in Texas until I was about 10, and my folks split and my mom remarried, and my stepfather worked for Boeing in
Oh,
Seattle. So we made the long trek up in an old van and a U-Haul truck from we ended up living in Houston, Texas for a couple years before we left the Dallas
wow.
area, and then went up to Seattle. And this is quite a culture change. I
Yeah,
was,
I'll
I think
say.
eight or something,
Right.
7 or 8 when we moved, and um, so kind of got inserted into the Seattle culture. And yeah, fully Rocky. And we have an older brother, Sonny, that also played music. And I just really, I saw him playing guitar. There were guitars around the house, and at a young age, I was always
Right.
kind of fiddling with it. I mean, I played football, and then I
Right.
sort of got into little league, like pee wee football, and then I got obsessed with. And Rocky at the time had sort of gotten immersed into like the punk scene in Seattle and things like that. And him and his best friend were listening to. They had 2 CDs. They had Drive Like Jehu's Yank Crime
Okay.
and 24 Hour Revenge Therapy by Jawbreaker, and they were
Wow.
listening to him. And I don't know what it was, but I just like, there was that sort of, I'm tagging along with my older brother type
Sure.
thing, but it also, it was the first time I really like felt something different when I was listening to music, because I had heard like
Right.
Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, of course, but I was still pretty young, so those things were very prevalent. But when I heard those records, I think things, I at least like try to remember it this way. That's kind of where like my shift in interest in music
Right.
changed, and I would kind of noodle on guitar. I think the only thing I could play was like Today, the little
Right.
the intro guitar line, which I'll still play to this day.
Of course.
And so I really wanted to play, and Rocky and Sonny played, and I was obsessed, and I was playing their guitars all the time. And my parents, they one Christmas bought me like a really cheap acoustic guitar, because it's definitely one of those things, like we didn't have a lot of money, and
Right. Right.
you never know if the kid's going to play it, so why invest in something super
Right.
super nice? But I knew immediately. I never touched the thing. I was like, it was a Hohner acoustic guitar. It wasn't a great guitar. And
Right.
somehow I knew, even as a kid who didn't know how to play, that I didn't like it.
You didn't
And
like
so,
that.
so I just kept playing my
Right.
brother's Applause acoustic. And then Sonny he had like a custom Les Paul that I think was at one point our uncle's, that was a very nice guitar. And
Uh,
then but that was sort of my introduction to guitar. And
wow.
Rocky just kind of showed me. I didn't take lessons or anything. So he would show me chords, and I just pretty much was self-taught after that.
It's so important to have an older sibling, an older person, an older, like a sort of a Sherpa,
Yeah.
that sort of guides you through and goes, no, this is where you need to go, and this is what you need to listen to. And what two takeaways there from what you just said. A, what great records to sort of indoctrinate you into this wonderful thing that we all do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yank Crime is amazing, and 24 Hour Revenge Therapy is also unbelievable. And also, man, congratulations on getting out of Texas, because I never did.
Ha.
And I'll tell you, it does put sort of 10 steps ahead of your journey,
Mhm.
just getting out of Texas. And for me, I never
Yeah.
got out, but I got out of my shitty little podunk town and got to Dallas and got to Austin and things like that. But that was really hard. And if I had just started in a Seattle or in, you know, a New York or, you know, wherever, a place that had a fucking culture and an art scene or whatever, it would have benefited me so much. So congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring that up because the place that we were from is a town called Frost, Texas, and
Oh, I know Frost, Texas.
yeah, you know, so
Yeah.
you know, it's a 400 population, hasn't changed much. There was no real leaving. Our father was, you know, president of an MC in Dallas,
Oh, wow.
and you know, it's kind of
Wait,
like the
what MC then?
Scorpions.
No shit.
Yeah, like in
I
the
know
80s, you know, he was in it, and
my dad was a biker, so I know.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and Sherman there was the Banshees, and then
uh-huh.
there's the Vagos, and then there's, you know, of course the. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, well,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so through like a, you know, a turn of events, a tornado hits our house in Frost while I'm playing a t-ball game, and we end up sort of relocating. And meanwhile, somehow my mom managed to leave, get us
Wow.
out of that situation. We moved up to Houston and lived with her sister for a while, and then in that process, she met my stepfather, and
That's such a
then
Texas.
we ended up going up to Seattle. It's crazy because I think about what our lives would have been. I really don't think I would have had the story that you had, based on just kind of the way other people have. No one's really left Frost, Texas for the most part.
Right.
I mean, at least that I know about. That could be unfair a little bit,
Well,
but because I
no
have
one's.
lost touch. But
You know, Buck Owens is from Sherman, Texas.
mm-hmm.
There's a metal band that actually plays around now called THC that are from Sherman, Texas, and there's a hardcore band from Sherman, Texas, Kubla Khan,
Cool.
and and which is bananas. It blows my mind because no one, same deal. No one gets out of Sherman.
Mm-hmm.
But that is such a Texas thing that your house got hit by a tornado and demolished. I know so many people whose houses got demolished.
Yeah,
by
that's
tornado.
crazy.
Yeah,
Definitely like
man.
I was very young, but still probably one of the scariest things in my life was
Oh, it's
coming home
horrifying.
to find your, you know, because our house was a trailer that we was modified with house around it on
Right.
some acreage, and you know, 7 dogs and
That's very
this and that.
Texas.
So it was a very, very scary situation
Yeah.
for everyone. But it was the sort of turning point in all of our lives that kind of led us to Seattle, and you know, all the
Yeah.
great things that have happened to us from that one thing happening.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
so.
amazing. And it's such a lucky turn of events because you didn't want to grow up in Frost, Texas. You didn't want to grow up in Houston, Texas. I mean, you know,
No.
I had
Yeah.
this crazy will and
I mean,
determination. Like,
no disrespect to
oh
peeps in Houston, but I'm
yeah,
happy that I made it out and got to Seattle.
oh man. I mean, as a lifelong Texan, I'm telling you, you did good. You know, because like it does make it a little hard. It doesn't make it harder. I mean, there is a scene happening now in the bigger cities, but if you're a kid from a small town, good luck, man. Good fucking luck. You know. Um, you there? Or did I lose you?
I lost you for 1 second. I just heard there's a scene.
All right. I'll just clip that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, good luck. You know, if you're a kid from a small town, getting out of there. But you did, and now here you are. So you started playing guitar. Then your brothers helped you out. What was like the
Mm-hmm.
first guitar that you got on your own that you sort of, you know, fell in love with and kind of purchased yourself?
Yeah, the first guitar that I ended up with was, I don't know if you remember, there was a band called Sharks Keep Moving,
I remember the
from
name.
from Seattle, and members of that band went on to be in Minus the Bear,
Okay.
and things of that nature. But
I know Aaron from Minus the Bear.
yeah, so Jake Snyder was in a band called Sharks Keep Moving, the singer from Minus the Bear, and before that he was in a band called State Route 522, and him and Rocky were friends, and he was one of the guys that could record music. Like, he recorded all the early Waxwing stuff and all the early Blood Brothers stuff. But he had this band State Route 522, and there was another guy in the band, Nate Turpin, and he had this white Les Paul knockoff. It was called a Seville. I had to remember because I figured we were going to talk about this. So it's like it was called a Seville, and he had modified it where he took the bridge pickup out and ripped out all of the knobs so that it was just the neck or just the pickup in the back. What's it called? I'm an idiot.
The bridge. Yeah, the
bridge pickup.
Yeah.
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 the one that's it's brighter.
Yeah, sure.
And he had ripped all that out, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I obviously was so much younger, and I would go see them play, and he sold it to me for probably like $75 or $100. I don't remember, right. But I played that thing for many years. That's awesome. Like all of my first bands and all that stuff. And then the next like real guitar that I got was an Epiphone Cherry SG.
Okay.
Which, I think is the dream of all little kids to play an SG.
Of course. I had one. Yeah, you got to do it. Did that guitar, is that what led you into Blood Brothers, or by the time you graduated on before that?
I had it actually, to be honest, when the Blood Brothers started, I played the bass guitar. I wasn't even the guitar player in the band.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We had a different guitar player, Devin Welch. And just cause we were part of everyone in the Blood Brothers had another band called Vade, and they wanted to start a hardcore band. And I was their friend that was kind of always tagging along, and I could play. Right. And so I was like, I'll play the bass. And then eventually, before we made some 7-inches, and then before we made our first album, we wanted to have 2 guitars. And so I moved to second guitar, and Morgan started playing the bass. And then during the writing of that album, we like parted ways with Devin, our guitar player. So then I was just the solo guitar player. And I played that guitar pretty much that whole time. I did eventually buy a 79 all black SG from a friend of mine, and that became my main guitar. Like basically probably by the time we recorded This Adultery Is Ripe and through March on Electric Children and all that. So
yeah, there's something about those late 70s model Gibsons, the Norlin era, so to speak. But I have a 76 SG, and the neck is super crazy thin, and I just love it because I have really small hands.
I'm definitely a member of the Guitar Playing Small Hands Club. I've heard you talk about it before. Yeah. And I was laughing because I never realized I don't play a lot, or I didn't historically play a lot of bar chords, and it kind of like, people would ask me like, why don't you play bar chords or power chords? And I didn't really know, because I think I was just always attracted to angular guitar playing and, the Jehu and Rye Coalition and that kind of thing, and the San Diego hardcore scene. But I also realized much later in life when I was playing in Jaguar Love with Jay Clark, that was in Pretty Girls Make Graves. He was a guitar player, and he's a phenomenal musician. He was playing drums in the band. But one time we were playing guitar together, and I was watching him, and I just looked at his hand, and he was doing a bar chord, and it was so clean. And I was like, wait, how do you, your whole hand fits over the guitar? Like, what the hell? Like, I can't reach anything. And so what I realized is that guitar playing is actually kind of hard for me, even though it's very intuitive, and I had to work really hard to get good at it. But these little hands make it hard to reach things, and
it really does,
do certain things.
My guitar partner in Rise Against, Tim McElroy, he can, fret notes with his thumb.
Yeah.
No matter wherever on the neck, because people can usually do it like sort of, in the first position, but he'll do it everywhere. And I'm like,
he could do it everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so if he writes a riff with that, thumb note over there, I'm like, dude, I got to figure out a different way to do that. Cause I just can't, I don't have that
it's physically impossible for me to reach what you're doing.
I don't have that kind of thunder. So Blood Brothers. So did you pretty much were you that SG pretty much throughout that entire band?
No, for those records, when we did Burn Piano Island Burn with Ross Robinson, it sort of changed a lot of things for us as musicians and just our reach, because we were a hobby band. We were not trying to have a career or anything like that. It still kind of blows my mind that band was given some of the opportunities that we got just based on the way that it sounded. Right. But we went to True Tone in Santa Monica. Do you know that spot?
Yeah.
It's a vintage guitar shop in Santa Monica, and we recorded Burn Piano Island Burn in Santa Monica, basically right on the water. And I remember Ross taking us to that store and just basically gave us like a blank check. And dude, we spent money. I bought, I can remember some things that I bought. I know like the craziest thing that I bought was a 56 TV yellow special.
Jesus God.
Yeah, I bought a Brian May guitar just because I thought it looked cool, and I was like, that might be fun. I bought the Rickenbacker that I play now. The 360 Rickenbacker. I bought my Orange amps. I'd never played through Orange before, so I just thought they looked cool. I was like, I want to play Orange. Like a lot of people in punk rock weren't playing them, probably because they were hard to find, and I think they maybe had just started reissuing them. And we bought every single guitar pedal in the store. I think our tab was probably 20 or 30 grand when we walked out of there.
God.
And so we went into the studio with just all this new gear and just started playing everything. We brought our guitars, obviously, but it was a wild experience. I ended up feeling pretty guilty, and I remember returning the special and the Brian May guitar because we weren't really using them on the record. It just wasn't. And so I was just, I wish that I hadn't, fast forward, but.
So the Rickenbacker 360 to what you had been playing, immediately differences in pickups, differences in, your Rickenbacker 360 semi-hollow versus solid. So tell me a little bit about how did that inform your playing much, or did it open up new doors or new avenues? Creative?
It's funny. The Rickenbacker was kind of, it wasn't really a guitar that I played that much. I think I had also, I don't know if it was at that time or later, I had a 12 string 330 that, I played a few Blood Brothers songs on, but Rickenbacker was not my main guitar for a long time. That became my main guitar because in, I think 2006, we had just finished recording Young Machetes, and all of our gear was in our trailer parked in front of our drummer's house because it was the weekend that Murder City Devils got back together. And they were playing the Capitol Hill block party, but then they were also playing like an unannounced showbox show like that Sunday. So they were playing Saturday night at the block party, and then Sunday we were going to play. So it was unannounced. So we rehearsed at Mark, our drummer's house, and not a big deal. He lived like on a cul-de-sac in Seattle, and then we loaded everything into our trailer. And it turned out no one picked it up. Someone had stolen the van, and it had
real quick. I lost you. So if you just start with, we loaded everything into our trailer again.
Yeah. Okay. So we rehearsed and we loaded everything into our trailer, and we went and saw Murder City Devils play at Capitol Hill block party. And at the end of the night, Mark went home and texted everyone and was like, "Did somebody come pick up the van?" Oof. And no one had. And turned out someone had stolen the van, driven it around just down the block and into this parking lot, ripped into our trailer with a tire iron that was in the back, and like funneled out our guitars. And I'm telling you, we had every guitar I owned at that time. Morgan's basses were in there. I was trying to remember. I actually reached out to those guys today to see if anyone had the list of everything that was stolen. It was so long ago, no one does, but because I wanted to tell you, because some of the guitars that were stolen is very sad. But basically everything got stolen. And my Rickenbacker, circling back to how that became my guitar, is my brother Sonny was borrowing it.
So you just chopped it out. Oh, wow.
So I had that guitar that just kind of like, it was now like the guitar that I had.
Wow.
And I think Aaron Sprinkle, in his studio in Seattle, he had like a Les Paul Deluxe that I had, like an 80 Les Paul Deluxe. So I had two guitars then.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was brutal. I lost a 90s thin line guitar, which was my first guitar that, like, sort of nicer guitar that I bought, that I played in Waxwing a lot. But there was a 65 Cherry SG that was stolen. I think I had a 64, 65 Mustang, an 80s Flying V, the Rickenbacker 12 string. And actually one of my favorite guitars that I was playing a lot at the time was a a Wayne's World edition Squire Stratocaster that like my friend had in his, just in a closet in his studio. And I had met Nick Zinner and kind of gotten really influenced by him, and he played a Strat. And so I was like, I'm going to try playing a Strat. And my friend gave me that guitar, and it was awesome. I played it all over Young Machetes. Like, it actually was a very, very good, I don't know what they did. They decided to make one really, really nice
really
one.
Good. That's great. Well,
yeah, so
man, that breaks my heart. I always hated hearing any band, no matter what the band was, that happened to. There was a big sting in Houston. I remember speaking of Houston, a lot of bands were getting their trailers stolen in Houston, and it ended up being one like
was a ring
of folks.
Wow.
Yeah, and they eventually got busted, but so many bands got their shit ripped off in Houston for a long time. And I just remember hearing about it. Always broke your heart. I always think about when Sonic Youth had like their
that was in Seattle.
Yeah, their whole
that was bumper shoot. Yep.
Oh my god! And then
how do you get a semi stolen? I mean, I think that's quite possibly the most heartbreaking story of guitar stolen of all time. It must be because of
all those
the tunings and
and the vintage Jaguars and Jazzmasters, and just and they're one of those bands. Like, I mean, Jesus, you don't bounce back from that very easily with them because there's so many, you know. But anyway, so speaking of Nick Zinner, you ended up in Headwind City with Nick Zinner, who is just a phenomenal, influential,
amazing,
above all else, just creative and interesting player. You know, I would really love to talk to him as well, because at some point, because that's exactly why I wanted to start doing this podcast, is, you know, picking people's brains that I don't feel like they got their brains picked enough, you know, like what made you do this? So how did that relationship happen with him, and how did that band happen?
I lost you again. I heard picking people's brains.
Oh, God damn it! They're gonna have to edit the shit out of this.
No, sorry, dude. I don't know if it might be me. I don't know. Yours is probably pretty solid.
Mine's good. Do you want to like refresh yours and see if that works?
I could.
Maybe try that. And then
just
you
like
can
turn it off and back on.
Yeah, and access that. Like, just refresh your internet, and then
okay.
And then try. It might put you back in, but if not, we can access that link again.
Okay, cool.
All right.
You there?
Yeah. You good?
Okay, let's see if that helps. I apologize.
Okay, cool. No, dude, you're fine, man. I mean, they can also edit too. If it happens, we'll just say, "Hey, start at blah."
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay. You lost me.
We were talking about Nick Zinner.
Yeah. So with Nick, how did that relationship start, and how did that band start?
Yeah. So I remember when the Yeah Yeah Yeahs kind of first broke. You couldn't. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
They were one of those bands that they're on every magazine. And I hadn't heard them yet. And I do remember being a little bit like, what's up with this band? You know, like, why is this being pushed on me? And we were on tour with Pretty Girls Make Graves in Europe. And there was one show where we were opening up for the Yeah Yeah Yeahs in Berlin. And I remember Nathan, the guitar player, also another phenomenal guitar player, and Pretty Girls telling me, he's like, this band is amazing. Like, you're going to love them. And so I was excited. I was like, great, this will be really cool. They're everywhere. It'll be a fun opportunity to play with them. It was one of the bigger shows of the tour that we were all doing. And I remember getting off of our tour bus, and Nick was he was standing right there, and he was waiting. Not like waiting for us, but I think maybe he saw our bus pull up. So he came up to like greet us and say hello. We just immediately became pals, and I was blown away by their show, and we traded emails. And I remember I got home from that tour, and I just emailed him. I was like, hey man, it was so cool. It's great to meet you. Like, let's stay in touch. And he wrote back right away. And then we did.
Wow.
Oh, you there?
Yeah. Shit.
You lost me again.
You kind of, yeah. I got you at like, and we did.
Okay. A few years later, the Blood Brothers played a show with the Yeah Yeah Yeahs in London. There were two shows that we did with them. It was Yeah Yeahs and the Unicorns. And I remember Jordan and Nick and I were just getting wasted together and talking about having a thrash band. And we just had the idea to have JP and Gabe from Locust and see if they were interested. So we called them, like we put them on speaker and we're like, we want to start a band. Let's do it. And Nick had the name Headwind City from like when he was a teenager, he always wanted to have a punk band called Headwind City. And so that was pretty much how the band was birthed. And then we figured out a week to go to San Diego and we wrote that first solo EP. We wrote
Damn it, man. Hang on. You're there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Let me refresh.
Okay, cool.
Let's just see. Hang on.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Okay, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll probably go in as two separate. Let me check something very quickly.
It's funny. Things like this are frustrating, but when you remember the fact of what we're doing is totally insane.
I know, right?
You gotta I gotta remember to give myself perspective sometimes. It's like, yes, this is frustrating, but the fact that this is even a problem I'm having is,
I know, right?
Is pretty cool, you know?
It seems okay now. I mean, we'll just continue on.
Let's keep trucking.
Okay, part 2.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you were saying that's how you guys went to San Diego and recorded that first EP. Well, that's such a cool thing, and that's what makes this also special. Is that we do meet a lot of people that we admire, and because we're all musicians, we have that shared sort of history and the shared, we all speak the same language, kind of.
Yeah.
You can just go, let's start a band, and it's still that sort of adolescence, that when you first did start bands and you were 14 or whatever, and you're in a garage, you go, I got this riff. What do you have? That spirit still lives on, no matter how old you are.
Yeah.
And I love, that's one of the things I love about this so much. So Headwind City, did you guys get to tour very much or work that very much?
Not a lot. We and just one like little cool fun gear fact about that band. I remember Nick showing up to the first rehearsal and he had the original Pog, and he was like, "Yeah, Electro Harmonics gave me this pedal to demo. It's not out yet."
Oh wow!
And so so like I always like thought it was super cool. Like I think that was one of the first recordings in punk rock that sound was on,
right.
which was always kind of fun. But yeah, we made that record. We played one show in San Diego, and then fast forward, we made a record with Vice. We did the record with Ross Robinson. We did one tour opening up for Savages, and that was pretty much it.
Wow.
We really didn't do a bunch. It was never meant to be a band. It was kind of something that we were just fitting it in where we could. So we could do it,
I've YouTubed that footage, and it's some of your live stuff, and it's just amazing. So if anybody's listening, you should definitely look that up. It's great stuff. So real quick, so we've already talked about your bands and things. Who were your guys? Who were your influences starting out, or even to this day? Your guys that made you want to play guitar?
Yeah, obviously, Jehu, Fugazi, Jawbreaker, all that stuff. Those were my main influences. Swing Kids, all that San Diego hardcore, which is kind of funny because in my older age, it's not so much, but in my formative years, I really got obsessed with all of that angular, fucked up, chaotic stuff.
Yeah.
Even Dan Gallucci, who you had on the show, his bands were a mega influence on us.
Yeah.
When we found them, we were just, it blew our minds. And we saw one of the first Murder City Devil shows, and it kind of changed everything for us.
Yeah.
Because then we dug deeper and found out about Death Wish Kids and Area 51, and that's why we had 2 singers in our band, because we knew you could do that. And Jordan,
what a great player he is.
Oh, he's amazing, and just such a great guy too.
Fully. I've never met him before, and we just fully hit it off. But speaking of San Diego and Jehu, I'm such a huge John Reese fan, and anything He does, and I was also a huge Rob Crow fan, and so I loved, Thingy, and I loved Pinback and all that stuff. And that
Yeah.
they have plosives now, and
That band is awesome.
It's amazing. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so good.
So good.
Well, so speaking of what you are doing right now, so you're doing JR Slayer, and,
Yeah.
and what's informed that? Was it a concerted effort to get away from loud, aggressive music, or what happened?
No, really, JR Slayer just kind of, because for many years I kind of stepped away from being a touring musician and a very active musician. I did some tour managing. I've been working in reality television the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been working on The Bachelor up until recently. Yeah, that's so awesome. that whole franchise. And I tour managed at the Drive-In and King Cruel for a couple years. That sort of, I cut my teeth getting to learn production in that way. And then JR Slayer was just, I had all these songs and this music, and I knew that, you mentioned earlier those early days where creating music was really pure and, or for lack of a better term, organic. But I really wanted to have a place to make art that didn't need any kind of pageantry or have any monetary gain in mind about it. Yeah. And I had tons of music, and a friend of mine was just like, you need to play a show or start doing this. It's really cool. And so I just came up with the moniker JR Slayer, and I was like, I'll just call it this and it'll be everything that I do musically. And so I just sort of started doing that. It wasn't really intentional. There were a few years in Seattle before I moved to Los Angeles where I was working as an engineer for Pat Monahan, who is the singer of the band Train. And he needed someone to help him just kind of record demos and things like that. And my name got thrown in a hat, and we met, and it was a very weird, for me, I was broke at the time. It was awesome. I was like, cool. Like, I'd sort of taught myself engineering and stuff like that. So I just went and started working with him, and I learned a lot about songwriting with him, and I got the opportunity to record. And then there was tons of free time in his studio where I just started like writing songs and making music. And eventually I had an album, and then I just, I had so many songs that I was writing on guitar. I was always the guitar player in a band. I was never a singer. So I've never fronted a band. I've always just been the support. And it was something that I always wanted to do. But, when your brother's Rocky Votolato, it's a little intimidating to try to write a lyric or sing.
For sure.
Because he's so good. And so I think I was always a little bit like sheepish about that kind of stuff and didn't really want to put it out there until I started doing JR Slayer. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start recording these songs myself and putting them out there, because I do have a lot of music I'm making, and I'd like to share it, and with nothing more in mind than just that. I was just recording songs and going on TuneCore and, making my own artwork. And it was really just a creative space. So it wasn't, and I always loved Elliott Smith and really classic country music and folk music. So that part of me is, even though the Blood Brothers was like my prominent sort of, this is what you might know me as a musician, like all of that, like country and folk and emo and all that stuff was so important to me and informed a lot of what I did musically. And so starting to write songs, and I wanted to learn how to craft a song and get better at it. And so that's kind of what led me to it.
And compel the listener and in a different way,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So has that informed, I mean, needless to say, I would imagine the shift in musical tone and style how has that informed your guitar gear choices, much less your guitar playing?
Right. I mean, honestly, after everything got stolen in the Blood Brothers, all that stuff, I kind of made a vow not to get too much gear ever again.
That's smart.
I mean? Because I immediately took my insurance money and I bought some stuff. I bought I think it was a 65 SG Junior. It was all white. It was beautiful. And I did a short stint in Cold Cave playing guitar. I did a tour with Cold Cave, and
I saw that, and I know those guys, and
yeah,
I know Wes, and my buddy Hunter from AFI played bass in Cold
yeah,
Cave for a bit.
yep.
And,
It was the same time.
oh, geez. Okay.
It,
London May.
it was yep, London and Hunter and Jesse
Right.
Nelson that was in Head Automatica. We did one tour playing with Wes. It was amazing. The band was so good. But
Yeah,
the
it was really
beginning
cool.
of that tour, our van and trailer had gotten parked by just on the street in Brooklyn, and someone broke in and they stole Hunter's
God damn.
Hunter's custom bass and London cymbals and my SG.
Oh,
So
Cody.
yeah, and I know, and then so I remember Fender was cool. And they actually I got one of the Johnny Marr guitars.
Oh, that's rad.
which I know you and Dan talked about quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So I got one of those to. I mean, you can't replace a 65 SG
No.
Junior, but it was really cool. But fast forward, in order to move to LA, like I said, I was broke, so I had to sell that guitar in order to have the money to get to LA. So I didn't even have the Johnny Marr guitar anymore.
Fuck. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool to also limit yourself gear wise and to force yourself creatively
Yeah.
to work within those
Yeah.
confines. And I think case in point is somebody like Tom Morello. He bought the gear he plays now, this pedal board, that Marshall head, that cabinet, and that guitar, the Arm the Homeless guitar. And reinvented guitar playing in the 90s was the 90s Eddie Van Halen with that gear that he still plays. He just hit a wall. It's like, I'm not buying any more gear. I'm going to make everything happen with this. And I think
Cool.
that's so amazing. I respect that so much. So I
Yeah.
think through fate sort of forced your hand on that, as far as
Yeah, I didn't
taking
have
things
much
away from-
choice. I was like, this is what I have, and I'm not going to probably invest a lot more. But yeah, so the Rickenbacker became my just my main guitar. And though it wasn't my main guitar at all in the Blood Brothers, when the Blood Brothers split up, it's kind of all I had. I had that in the SG Junior, and I just really connected with it. And
Yeah.
I also like the idea of playing rock and roll and hardcore on a Rickenbacker. I mean,
I think it's great.
Guy
I
did
love
it. The dude
Fuck
from
yeah.
Converge, when I saw he was playing a Rickenbacker, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah, like I'm in.
Yeah.
I recorded a hardcore record with a Rickenbacker with Walter
Yeah.
Streifels.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was. It was there at the studio. As a friend of mine produced it, he had it. I was like, I'm using that, and it
Yeah.
was so cool. Those Filtertron pickups, and it's
Mhm.
like such a different thing of different. And like I was saying, it informs you differently
Yeah.
than a humbucker. A humbucker's so safe as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
There's so much of there's a bed. It's forgiving. You take a single coil or a P90 or a
I know.
Filtertron or something like, and you're going to hear those mistakes, man.
I love high gain. I love high gain so much. It's our friend.
Oh, it's such our friend. It's glue. It
Yeah.
glues those. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
forgiving. But when you
Yeah.
clean up your amp and you play a guitar without a humbucker pickup, man, it's like,
Mhm. Yeah.
ooh, you better watch your P's and Q's, man. 'Cause
Yeah.
everyone's gonna hear it. Now, are you still using orange amps?
Yeah. So sort of for many years, and actually Nick Zinner was a component about this, but because I was using two orange half stacks in the Blood Brothers, like 80 140s, and when I saw he was playing combos, I was like, maybe I'll get into the combo world. So I started
Yeah.
playing like a Fender and a Dr. Z, which also got stolen in that trip.
Shit.
But
God
yeah,
damn.
yeah. But in Headwood City on the last tours, Orange gave me one of their newer combos,
Okay.
one of the Crushers. It's like the black one. So I've been
Okay.
playing through that and my Fender Deluxe, but I still have one of my guitar cabs, my orange cabs from back in the day. And I just was like, let me try plugging this Fender combo amp into the cab. And so right now I'm ABYing the Fender goes into the orange cab, and then I have the orange 2x12, and it's
Rad.
pretty rad with my Rickenbacker. And I don't use a lot of pedals. The volume pedal's been like my best friend on guitar since I've started playing. I've gone through plenty of those, and then I don't use a lot of distortion.
Okay.
DD3. I have the same DD3 delay pedal that I've had for many, many years with just a short delay on it.
Yeah.
And one sort of Big Muff pedal. And
Right.
that's kind of all I use right now.
with the DD3, is that just an effect, or do you kind of keep it on as sort of a?
It's an effect.
Yeah,
It's just
sort of
like for when
effect.
I'm like making noise or something like that and
Right,
want to
right.
get exciting.
Right.
But yeah,
I
the
love
guitar,
that.
yeah, it's simple. And
Are you just one guitar?
yeah, right now one guitar, and which kind of like at first I wanted to have a second guitar because there is a lot of guitar on my record, and trying to figure out how I'm gonna do that live. And what I realized is like I was the only guitar player in lots of bands, so I could figure this out. So
For sure.
right now I figured like I'll just do the 2 amps, and I'll kind of pick and choose and where I'm doing the leads, and we'll have some synthesizer that can sort of pick up some of the lead guitar stuff that maybe I can't do while I'm singing, or but I'm really I'm in the formative stages of the live band and figuring it out.
Right.
So
wait, same question, different context. Are you
yeah.
one guitar like owner, or do you have a backup to the rig?
Oh, I have a Gretsch hollow body that Keeley from At the Drive-In gave to me as a gift. And
is it like a Country Gentleman, or is it
no, it's the shoot, I don't even know the model. Yeah. But it's really pretty. It's red. It sounds great.
All right. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Well, rad. So you're into a hollow body kind of thing right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it works.
Right. And I would imagine those, those Gretsch are the Filtertron pickups, with the Rickenbackers. It's their version of it's like a mixture of a P90 / single pull set. I imagine those work pretty well as far as, being able to, not be too far off the mark when you switch guitars if you break a string or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I mean, I love that. And I think what people are going to pull away from this podcast is watch your shit. Don't
be careful. Yeah. And like I was thinking about the gear that I'm using right now, and sort of the combo amp plugged into the guitar cabinet wasn't something I ever really thought about. Actually, Will Yip introduced me to that concept, because when we recorded the record, I was playing through, I think it's a twin reverb through a Marshall slant.
Right.
And with just like I think a full tone distortion with a little rat on it. And that's pretty much all the guitars on it is pretty straightforward. Not, maybe we threw in some reverb, but my Rickenbacker is every guitar on it for the most part, aside from the acoustic guitar. But
I love Will Yip's work.
Oh my God, he's amazing. Yeah.
I love the Last Ceremony record that he did. I love what he's done with Quicksand. I just love that guy's stuff. I don't know him, but I'm a huge fan of the stuff he does. So he did the J.R. SLAYER record. Yeah.
He produced the record. It's coming out on his label, Memory Music, and
rad.
Yeah, really, really random. He's friends with our bass player Jason Klein, which I don't know if you know him. He works at Fender.
I know Jason Klein.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Jason's the bass player in the band.
Oh, what a great guy.
He's the best. And we were roommates at the time, and he just sent some of the music that my early stuff to Will, and Will was immediately like, what is this? I really like this. Wow. And we spent like months and months going back and forth about trying to find a time to work on something. And wow. It took us a couple years to make this EP, but we did it. And now we're in the...
I mean, yeah, of course I know Jay. That's crazy. I'm gonna reach out to him and tell him what a small world.
Yeah.
Well, tell Will Yip I'm a fan of his stuff.
I will, 100%. Yeah.
Well, I've had you for an hour now, so
okay.
I won't keep you too much longer.
Cool.
And it's funny. I always ask, is there one that got away, like a piece of gear or something that you lost or got stolen? But the whole theme of this has been getting shit stolen. So I think you have. It's great. We've kind of made a point. It's unfortunate, and I feel terrible for you.
I know.
But there's been so many that have gotten away with you, Cody. I mean,
I know
it's a travesty.
Yeah. If I had to pick one
what's the biggest one? What's the one?
I think the one. Okay, there's sort of a two-parter, because the one that was probably the most sentimental to me was probably my Thin Line Telly, which wasn't even an expensive or nice guitar, really. It was the guitar like I came up with. But really,
was it Japanese? Those Japanese reissues they did?
Yeah, it was
those
actually. Yeah.
Those 90s era. I had one of those too. They were great.
Yeah. But honestly, the guitar I kind of wish that I did have was the Wayne's World Strat.
Now you say that. Did it say Wayne's World on? I'm
Did.
not familiar.
So
Okay.
you know, in the movie, there's like the Stratocaster.
There's like the white on white
like,
Strat.
yes,
yeah.
it's that guitar. So it just looks like a Squire guitar, but on the back, the plate that you bolt on the neck, there's the Wayne's World emblem.
No shit. I have to look that up.
It's so cool. And it's funny because Jesse from Death from Above, he knew that story, and he hit me up and he was like, dude, I have one of those guitars. And I was like, no way. I was like, how do I get it from you? And he was like, introduce me to Jason Klein.
Yeah.
I did. He sent it to me. He had his guitar tech like set it up, and he mailed it to me.
So do you have it?
I do have it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
still have it. But unfortunately, it's not as nice as the one that I had. Something about that closet one just was
it
real.
Squire? It was a Squire.
It's Squire. Yeah.
Wow. There's just some of those guitars. There's like magic to one of them, and God damn it, if every other one you try, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not.
I also feel really bad about the 65 Cherry SG that was lost, because I actually gifted that guitar to Rocky. And I borrowed it back to play it on the record, and so he kind of got screwed too, because he had gotten pretty attached to it. So
God damn
maybe if I could get one back, I'd get that one back so I could give it to him.
So wait, let's retrace this though. The guitar you still have that is now like informed, it's like the one that you have a relationship with.
The Rickenbacker.
Your older brother had borrowed that one, and so it didn't get stolen.
It didn't, yeah.
But then Rocky was borrowing your SG, and he got it stolen?
No. I had given the SG to Rocky. Maybe
you
like
gave it to Rocky. Yes.
Yeah, I gifted it to him.
You borrowed it back.
I borrowed it to play it on Young Machete, so it was just with our gear in the trailer, and then it got stolen with everything. So it's always been kind of hard for him, I think. So.
God damn, Cody.
Yeah.
Don't let Cody Votolato borrow your gear.
I know. I honestly, if I ever lost my Rickenbacker, because it's truly kind of become my second skin in that way that probably none of my other guitars were. So I'd be pretty heartbroken.
To turn it positive, maybe the universe informed that. Maybe the universe was like, no, this is your guitar, Cody. This is the one you need to play. This is the one,
I think so. And I also learned, it helped me learn to not be too attached to items. And
I mean, that's true too, man. I mean, look,
I learned it's just stuff pretty quickly.
It is just stuff. And yes, you can grow sentimentally attached, and you're growing sentimentally attached to stuff. And it's not about the stuff. It's about the guy doing it. And it's like, that's actually a question I was going to talk to you about, and we just answered that. Sometimes it's like, is it the gear or is it the player? It's always the player.
Always. Yeah, it's the fingers. Yeah, 100%.
You could put Angus Young on that Wayne's World Squire Stratocaster, and he's going to sound like, like Angus Young.
Yeah, which I think is really something that's really cool about the guitar. And I guess most instruments, aside from electronic ones for the most part, only you can get that certain feel or
I agree,
or sound out of a stringed instrument or a piano or something.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way to leave it there, man.
Cool, man.
So everybody, so you're doing JR Slayer now. You're gonna be touring that.
Yeah. Well, not heavily right now, just because it's touring is a tough game, and we're kind of in the discovery mode of the band, but we're doing a show this weekend in LA, and then we're actually going to be supporting Seos in October for they're doing some West Coast shows around the When We Were Young festival. So they were cool enough to offer to have us come open up those shows. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm trying to figure out other things to do and curate, because touring's not off the table. It's just hopping in the van and grinding it for grinding's sake is not necessarily the smartest move for us at this point in time, but I'm trying to do curated stuff and things of that nature. So
awesome. Well, the record's great and the stuff is great.
Thanks, man.
It's everybody go out and get that. And Cody, man, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.